welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 155 of Peace Talk. This is the Peace Dealer. We are back 2 in a week. Okay. Uh, Last episode, we talked about the wonderful realm of dreams. And today, we're going to get into some numerology and science. So I'm actually excited about this talk. We were going to do this a while, but this kind of ended up working out kind of perfectly. I completely forgot. Like I like to say Gemini's words and Virgo's numbers. So this might have been the perfect time to do this. But without further ado, I present Bublynn Beach to you. Appreciate you, brother, for joining.
Hey, Bublynn. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited to talk to y'all and see your guys' perspective and just ask some questions about why numbers mean what they mean, right? Because I see all these posts everywhere about these angel numbers. I'd be asking why, and I haven't got one answer. And this isn't to throw shade at intuitive people, because I think there's so much to where people can just feel, right? But it's just not necessarily me. That's why I love astrology, because it's all like a system from like the zodiac, right? And like understanding the chakras, and it is like using your intuition, but it's guided. And that's kind of the structure that I want to bring to numbers, or at least just get to know other people's perspectives, right? Because I'm open, but at least share, my side and get to know other people's perspective.
You said that really well. Like the intuition is like water, and then if the water doesn't have structure, it's just gonna flow everywhere. So like the numerology.
Yeah, that's why I love tarot, because it's balanced, right? And once you have a balanced system, it can say yes or no, and that's where you can kind of get like you can use the cipher, right? But I feel like if you don't have that structure, then I feel like that cipheric element where everything's balanced and contrasted and everything like that, it kind of gets lost a little bit. But I feel like some people work in that realm though too. Like I believe there are people that could do that. It's just like I said, it's not me personally.
Well, before Spirit gaslights the rest of this audience, I just want y'all to see how smooth both of our videos are right now, because we went through the storm before. It almost looked like we wouldn't be able to do this. So I'm glad. I think, and I really don't mean that as a joke, because I noticed that when people have very important things to say, especially on this channel, there's just weird occurrences like that. You know what I mean? So get ready for a banger. Shout out to those of y'all in the live chat. Where do you live? Where do you stay from?
I was born in Santa Barbara, California, and at 3 months old, I moved to Alaska to help the people that hate the cold here, feel a little bit of the tropics. But yeah, I live in Fairbanks, Alaska. Crazily enough, which is crazy. I was looking at I don't know anything about it, but I was looking at astrocartography, and I'm like outside of all the lines, like outside on the uranium bound. So I feel like I'm feeling the energy. Plus, my progressed sun is like in Taurus, right where Uranus is at.
Everyone who mentions Uranus or Uranian energy always gets glitches in readings. The call always cuts. It's just
I'm like summoning it right now. I'm like trying to make Mercury unstable. Like,
yeah. Well, how long have you lived in Alaska?
since I was 3 months old. So I am 22. So like 22 years.
Old. Wow. Okay, I thought you said years. Damn.
Oh no, my bad.
So you were
Yeah,
born.
I didn't have a lot of time to get to know Santa Barbara at all.
So you were born after 2000.
Yeah, 2000, but on 2000, year 2000, 4/18, April 18.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you answered my next question. What's your sun, moon, and rising?
Okay, yeah. So my sun is Aries and my moon is Scorpio, shout out Mars, and then my ascendant is Libra. So I bring it all together beautifully with that contrast.
Okay, Mr. Seventh House Sun. That's what's
Yeah.
up. You got the gun. That's
right?
awesome. So you're one of us. You're a transformer.
Yeah.
The eighth house sun to the Aries sun. So yeah, no,
Oh
that's
yeah.
what's up. I dig it. I dig it. And then of course your new gen, which I really appreciate. And very amazing thing about the new generation is that y'all bring new concepts, and you
We
bring
do. I
right,
feel that.
which is, it's now blowing my mind how the subject of this whole peace talk is a new technique that I really want to ask you more about, which really blew my mind because I see it as a different or new way to look at numerology and also how you apply it to astrology. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
before you go into that, you said you were 22 years old. That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, why's that? What's up?
I realized the conjunction in Aries with Jupiter is going to be at 22 degrees, and you're probably going to be
Oh
turning
wow.
3. Yeah. So what's it like to really? Because especially, yeah, I see y'all as leaders of the new school. What is it like to really step into this so young, and kind of
Well,
these elements?
I guess to bring up just the general atmosphere, what I always think is crazy is I've like never before in history is it so easy for you to communicate with people in other countries and see that like political circumstances are kind of the same. So like starting to realize like how I don't know, I guess propaganda plays a role in like getting us to feel a sort of way like cross culturally I guess just with like nationalism and stuff like that, right? Where it's like I'll talk to my buddy in Africa who like dances and like that like it's just a similar circumstance, right? So not only that, but with like all the religious concepts and the scientific concepts, like everything merging, like it's such a like I feel like it's such a new time. Like I was just listening to this thing where it's like if you are just living the symbols of your culture, you can't really get an abstract idea of what they mean because that's all you know. It's like a fish in water, right? So it's like we're literally coming into this time. Like I do feel like it's like that Aquarian age, especially with the internet, where it's like we can have this oversight on the basis of truth, where all our different reasons and symbolisms cross culturally like had their root, right? And I feel like to really step into that and try to get past this sort of like I feel like low key trickster element of how like organizations and structures kind of trick us to use our emotions, like to really I don't know, to figure out a way to get past that and sort of integrate all of this is, I don't know, I feel like it's almost a challenge, especially with the amount of suppression on the individual, at least that I sense.
Especially as an
But
individual, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. I love how you said that because I think Aries embodies what it means to go through that suppression and to still maintain individual. What is it like to? I have two questions. What is it like to have a Scorpio moon as an Aries sun, and then also what is it like to be a man with a Scorpio moon? Because those are men who have the deepest feminine souls.
yes, no, like, okay, so I feel like I'm a Pisces, but I realized I'm wrong because I have such strong boundaries. It's just I live in like an intuitive like dream world, but I've guarded it so much to where like I just once I like convinced myself I was Pisces, but I realized like getting to know some Pisces, I was like, no, I actually have really strong boundaries. I just like accumulate the Pisces energy. But either way, going back to your question, like as an Aries, I am embodying an individual, but the Scorpio is like purity and trying to assimilate into natural greater currents, at least how I see it. And it's deeply emotional. So it's like, for me, anything that I get into or I feel, especially in my second house, it's going to be something that I manifest and be. So, like with bad habits, like it's not like I can like just I do a little bit of this, like I'll be like deep in it and really feel if that's something that I can sort of obsess on or fully assimilate into my being, right? So like moderation becomes really important and just like deeply I just feel like the deeply taking in emotions and being able to be a current, like Scorpio being in like the real realm, right? As you call it, like the social signs, and being that water sign, it's really the real current that's always coming through and washing. And what that means is like, at least for me, if I connect to something that isn't going to be purified by detox, then it's going to really hurt. Right. But if I do connect to things that as I'm just growing and trying to strengthen my being will help, like I'll be able to find joy in that. But I've had a lot of trials and tribulations on like what to connect to and like emotionally obsessing on like negative things and stuff like that. But I think bringing that all together and then being able to represent sort of like the greater current, like in that feminine aspect and the greater like a real intuition, like the collective, the social, that's like I feel like I can really express myself purely like my whole name, like Bublynn Beach, like I embody that and like I realize that as an individual, but it goes into the symbolism and what it means to me on my character and relationship to the greater world. And it's like I feel like I'm really able to tap into um I don't know, I guess just that pure element, to where like if I do stand by something, like I can really like I've never like been like, oh, that's not my name. Like once it found me and once my vision found me that is like beyond where I can go, then it's like that forever kind of stuck with me. I don't know if that all comes together, but
No, that
that's what it is.
that was beautiful. And do you personify with the archetype of Libra rising as an artist? Do you see yourself?
Oh yeah, like literally, look, this is funny. Hold on. Like this isn't a good um what is it? Picture, but literally beach artist. And then I have like the four elements of music, numerology, tarot, and astrology. And then like my name right here is literally my name, and like that's art, right? And I legally changed my name. So it's like if you're not my mom, like, or you're not my close friend, you're not really gonna know my birth name. And my mom doesn't really like that. But and I love her. I love her so much. I love my original name so much, but it's just that
That's
I
some
feel like
Scorpio
people
moon
need
shit.
if you discover who you are, I just feel like you have to be that. So I never be like, oh mom, you can't call me, my name. But like for when I approach the world, like I always go out like as an artist, right? Like and I literally like all my clothes are the beach, the light blue, the white. Like I view like opalescent sand that's kind of been like washed by the waters over time, right? So it's like the wise salt in alchemy, which kind of represents that Scorpio moon, right? The beach. Like I don't really view it as the tropics. Like in order to get sand, that's to crash and refine like over so much time. It's like that shit's hard. Like, um, but but yeah, no, I do identify with
That's
the
awesome.
Libra rising, what like a lot. So yeah,
That's
I
super
do.
awesome. I
Especially with the seventh house Aries sun, like I really want to
exactly
be me and like facilitate individuality, but I want to do that with people. So it's like such a huge
right.
challenge. I feel like.
Right.
Uh,
It's like you want to
uh,
be you're in Aries with other people. It's like a Libra Aries.
yeah, because I'm always going to try to like resonate with other people and know if I can like express myself. But if I can't, then I really got to like step back, because I don't know. It's hard for me to like just be a Leo and be like, no, like this is my spot. It's like, no, if you're not interested in what I'm doing, I'm kind of like, whatever. I'm gonna find who is, because it's like I have that resonating to where, like, yeah, or that Libra energy. Uh,
No, the cool thing
yeah.
about the Libra rising is you can be a Leo with other people together, and you can
Oh
all.
yeah, yeah. That's when it comes out, and it's like with the right people. It's just yeah, it's just a developing that sort of family. I feel like, especially with Cancer in the tenth house, it's like I have to like really try to go out and build that based on real interests, or else like I feel like I'm just fucking around with people. I'm like, what the heck? What's going on?
Yeah, I really like to see. I like the numbers you kind of peeped on the table before. So there's a lot I definitely like to ask for someone who might just be coming in newly. What is numerology?
So this is a great question. I feel like numerology, like I guess, would just be the study of numbers, right? And like broadly speaking, numbers are just measurement, right? Like anytime we're speaking about numbers, we're measuring something. We see numbers with the date, which is measuring like, specifically the day and the month, or the year and all these things. Or with the time, we're measuring where the sun's at, right? Or there's just broad mathematics where we utilize like literally just the system of numbers are like theoretics to be able to measure, right? And I guess there's the study of that like on a mathematician point, which I would think would also be numerology. But then the way that I as more on the astrology side and loving symbolism gotten into it, is like associating numbers in their given system with what they represent symbolically. Because what I think is a sort of, well, I guess this is going a little too far, but yeah, I guess numerology to me personally, the sect that I'm in, is like the study of the symbolism of numbers. But then I think more broadly, it would just be the study of numbers, right? Which are this sort of theoretical measurement that we've.
Well, so you're saying there's like
Discussed.
the calculative nature of numbers where we can like add and multiply, and the formulaic nature, and then there's the symbolic nature where we look at like
Yeah,
the
because if you don't, yeah, because if you don't understand like what like two times two means from like a more mathematical standpoint, then I feel like you couldn't really understand what like just broadly four represents from like a symbolic standpoint, because you wouldn't be able to say, oh yeah, if I'm looking at what four is divisible by, it's 2 by 2, and that gives you a look into what four would mean more broadly. Because what is two? This is yang and yin. We know this is odd and even, right? So then now we know, okay, the four from a more broad standpoint has a connection to being an expression of yang and yin by yang and yin, or 2 by 2, right? Which would be like elemental, at least from like a symbolic standpoint. But it depends on where we measure it, right? Because if we're looking at like a clock and we're looking at the number four, like it's not going to represent what it means if we're just devising a system to represent the elements and then saying that that only has four elements, right? So like out of four, four is the last, but out of 12, four is the like 1/3, or it's like the fourth out of 12, you know? So understanding like that's why I feel like there's a lot of almost built-in dissonance with numbers, because like one could represent Capricorn season in the month, or it could represent like Aries in Cancer season at 1 o'clock when Aries is rising, you know, and
I'm
that's
glad
what
you
the
brought
hour
that
is
up.
pointing to. So
So it's
it's
like your intent
like,
sets the meaning. I'm glad you brought that up because like it really depends on what you decide it means. That
yeah,
sets.
and what you're measuring too. Because like a clock, which is out of 12, is going to be different than say a placement on broad mathematics, which is out of 10, right? Because the 10th is going to take like the most last or the most ending energy, whereas on the clock, the 10 isn't quite there. It's not quite at the end, so it wouldn't represent quite the same thing, right?
Mm, very true.
So that's where I feel like it's like I feel like always asking why numbers mean what they mean. I always try to do, and I haven't discovered a lot of people that do similar things. And then, yeah, and then what I like to do is understand them sort of fractally based on their given system. So I guess
Numer-
before we go too far deeper into this, I want to ask you, like I said, I
right,
want to
right,
ask you
right.
four different numbers so that at the end we can wrap it up with a reading on what that may mean, right? So
Um,
I first want to ask you, what's that?
I was gonna say numerology and palmistry are two fields that I slept on. You know, I was skeptical about numerology at first, and then I learned my life path number 9. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this is really accurate, but I had no idea that you can get more in depth than that. I didn't know there were pillar numbers.
Yes,
I didn't know that you
once I
can
show you how the once I show
and with
you how
palmistry too.
right, like
Yeah.
once I show you how the sort of 9 dial, which we always base things back to, because we know that we use 10 for the placement of numbers like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then that's how we sort of place it. But by 9 we always go back to it because we're never going to add up and find that a number adds up to 0. It's always going to be somewhere on the dial of 9, and I'll show
So
you that. But either
any number with numerology that you add with 9 goes back to itself. Is that what you're referring to?
no, it's not quite. It's just that any number that's just a number you can add together and see
Right.
where it is on the dial of 9. So, for
I
example,
see.
just to illustrate this point real quick, I'll show this. So if we look at right here and we go to say 42, right? Now that would add up to 6. And if we actually put it on a dial of 9, right, we'll see it's actually in the 6th spot, because that's what our mathematics allows us to keep in sync. Like it keeps in sync on the dial of 9. And that's one of the reasons I think our math was created. Or one of the sort of philosophic points behind it was that like you can always add up the number together to see logically what it is a descendant of on the dial of 9. So it actually isn't just adding it together and reducing, it's referencing this sort of broad dial, right?
That's
If
all.
that makes sense.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So you
Okay.
wanted to set up a reading for the end of this
Yeah.
talk.
So I'll ask you for four numbers, and then at the end, once we start to figure out what they're in sync with and what they mean, it'll come out to the tarot readings that I've sort of developed like on my own and how I like to read tarot.
Awesome.
So yeah, so I would like you to pick a number between 1 and 10.
And tell you? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously.
yeah, yeah.
3,
Okay, and now 1 and 12, a number between 1 and 12.
8,
Okay, now a number between 1 and 20,
5,
and 1 and 36.
27.
Okay, awesome. So we'll get back to that at the end because basically, the like we have, I guess, just to share a little insight about what that'll be, is we have like 10 planets, and like personally, I kind of see them energetically, like on a dial of 5 with Yang and Yang correspondences. And I know I thought it was interesting because, like you said too, with Candace one time that you thought Uranus was sort of higher octave of Mercury, but she thought it was a higher octave of Venus, right? So I think there's a lot of discussion on sort of what the points will mean, but it's still that understanding they do go back and reference, like I said, from a sort of more basic or like just from a broader standpoint on what dials they are, because I guess the dial of 9 is just one example, right? So if we look at, say, the dial of 2, we always say, is this number odd or is this number even? Right? And so that's something that goes back. So there's every odd, no, not every odd, every prime number will create a sort of new broad dial that will sort of be existent within every number, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And then every sort of, what's that?
every prime number.
Yeah, yeah. Because, like, for example, like once we get to 3, now it's its whole own dial, which we see actually represented in 9 because 9 is a compound of 3 by 3. So the interesting thing about personally how I see reducing numbers by 9 is that it's modal by mode because we know 3 is cardinal, at least how I see it, cardinal, fixed, and mutable, right? So then just to show you this chart, it would be 3 realms of that: cardinal, fixed, mutable, uh, cardinal, fixed, mutable, and then cardinal, fixed, mutable, but in their respective realms. So we have the cardinal realm, right, of 1, 2, 3, right, where we have the cardinal placement, the fixed placement, and the mutable placement. We have the fixed realm of 4, 5, 6, which will be the cardinal placement, the fixed placement, and the mutable placement, and the mutable realm of 7, 8, 9, the cardinal placement, the fixed placement, and the mutable placement. And so the thing I feel like that's immediately recognizable is we have power numbers of 1 being cardinal in the cardinal realm, 5 being fixed in the fixed realm, and 9 being mutable in the mutable realm. We have these linked numbers of sort of this self cardinal opening up mutable, right? And then this mutable, this potential sort of individualizing, which sort of I see connecting as the left and right hand paths because they're both not quite opposite, sort of 8th to 6th angle, while also they're both spiritual. They're cardinal and mutable combined, which is like um, um, it's spiritual, like it's not fixed, right? There's a creation of like a fixed, but either way, then we have 2, 4, 6, and 8, which all sort of reference fixity, right? And then we have the fixed realm, which I kind of view as the real elements, right? That we're personalizing, right? Which would be, I guess, more like air, or it would be like the fixed taking our shape, like earth. So, like I said, there's like things to go into what these exactly would mean, right? But but yeah, and then we sort of have the fix, the learning or the realization of self, like your body, like Taurus and Gemini, your thoughts, right? And then this 4 would kind of be around the Leo Virgo, the 6 would be around the Libra Scorpio, and the 8 would be right around Aquarius and Capricorn. Um, So, and I'll show you sort of how it references the zodiac too. And once we get to like breaking down the 3 and the 4 and aligning them, and then understanding if we place them by decan, we'll actually see sort of the zodiacal order emerge, which I think is really amazing. Uh,
That was pretty complex and really well drawn. And I'm not gonna front, you did kind of lose me a little bit after you spoke about the 5 with the fixed. Um just mainly because of
okay,
how layered. No, like we'll get back to that. But like personally, I think that's really awesome how you were able to tie in the 1, the 5, and the 9, and almost allude to how that's like the fire trine. So for sure, before we kind of go into uh exploring that more, because it looks like that is like the legend to explore more of the whole template with the whole violin 9. But what, first of all,
yeah,
what is it? I would really love to see, like, if you broke this down like video per video, like each point, because you really just broke something down that has a lot of depth, and I really appreciate you for that.
right.
What is what you just said called, and what inspired you to get on this journey and this path you're on?
So, I guess to start with the first question, what would this be called? So, I guess I haven't discovered a name for it. I just attribute it to adding symbolic associations to like numerology that we know, because what people would always do is sort of reference numbers and say what numbers mean, but I could never ask them why. And even if you look it up, it's kind of like when you're beginning to learn astrology and you're trying to learn about specific signs, and people don't really reference why, sort of in symbolic relationships, signs will play the archetypal role they'll play. And it was kind of a similar journey that I found with numbers, where looking into what people said specific maybe life path numbers mean, right? When they're always reducing it to the dial of 9, is I
Right.
couldn't find a specific answer of why, which is like, I'm not trying to discredit intuition, which is why I always bring up that point. We've had enough people focus on this and sort of resonate on specific things that there's probably a lot of substance there. Is I was just looking for personally a more cohesive, like I said, I'm not just to be guided by the intuition, but to bring a sort of framework in to help guide
Mhm.
the intuition. Um,
Yeah, that's very well
So I
said.
guess I don't know what I would call it. I guess I just call it beach numerology, to be honest. But
Beach
I guess
numerology. So
I don't know.
beach numerology would refer to the style of numerology you use.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because I haven't seen anybody else do it this way, and so I've had to just kind of understand what I know about symbolism and mathematics and combine it in order to. Because I guess I'm just a nerd, and I love numbers and I love symbolism. So I was just like, I want to creatively use numbers like in my sigils to mean what I know they could mean, like, and I can actually see the reference of the symbolic value in the number instead of kind of feeling like I don't know, just trying to feel it out, because like I said, I'm
So,
not
so you
crazy
can use
intuitive
beach
like that.
numerology for sigils.
Oh yeah, because like if you're trying to make, say, something to potentiate your own creative force, then I guess just understanding what one represents, like I
Right.
guess one of the most easiest things to understand, right? Because the thing about, I feel like yang energy is it's so pure that one is always going to be one, except for in time, because it starts at 6 a.m., which is weird, and that's even an equinox. But either way, like under like that's what I love, I guess, about the yang energy. But that's also what I love about the feminine energy. Is it's like I feel like the more pure you become, the feminine energy is, the more it's like water. And I almost feel like the less feminine it is because it's absent of relationship. So it's
Mm.
almost like once that water comes into relationship and sort of becomes like earth, I almost feel like that's more feminine, but only because it's less pure in the feminine energy. Does that make sense?
Well, we're gonna get into this right now, because let's
Okay.
let's actually get into
That was
this
a
right.
side note. That was just a tangent. I'm just nerding out
No,
because I haven't been able to talk
and
to too many
that's
people
why I'm
about this.
really excited. It's like astrology. Like there's so much depth to what you're saying. I can see your Scorpio moving. I was like, there's so much depth to this system. Um, you can like go off on these tangents. So
Yeah,
let's
definitely thought out. Like everything has its root in, I feel like, logic that's not only just made up, but it's based in like referencing truth. At least how
right.
I see it. Right? And that's why I want to get other people's opinions who are interested because I haven't really been able to share this more broadly.
Okay,
Uh,
so there was the graph you showed us, and then there's the violin nine. So let's go through all nine of the numbers, right? And
okay.
please take us through the system. There was the videos that you shared with me. So I would really love for you to kind of break down that, which was very fascinating. And I think with this now more direct play by play, we can gain more understanding.
Right. Okay. So I guess the first place, I guess, just from a conceptual standpoint, is first just understanding what nine would be, right? And as a number, it's a 3 by 3, right? 3 times 3 equals 9. So what that means is if we're looking at nine fractally, and look, here's what I'll show this, then we're gonna have which I have here red side here and side here, the middle. So we'd have three realms, right, with three parts to each one, and they would each reference what sort of in a dial of three, 1, 2, and 3 would represent. So this is where we would actually get into some sort of talking about what like these numbers would represent too, because the way that I see it is 3 would be the ending and the most mutable, sort of like right here at the Piscean area, whereas 1 would be the very beginning, and this would leave 2 to take this fixed role. Where, like, if you've ever listened to Dolo the Pilot Man, you've probably heard him say that 2 keeps the yin energy in a dial of 3, where it becomes sort of this mutable because it still continues to have the sort of like feminine element that it has in 1 to 2, right? And then, so like this is I guess just how I see it, right? Because this makes sense to me. But yeah, so going through, yeah, because I love Dolo, but like I said, I feel like understanding numbers, if we're understanding it in the system of the dial of 3, 3 becomes the ending point, right? Mutable, 1 becomes the beginning, and 2 becomes the middle, right? So this first, if we're going to break down something like 9, understanding that it is 3 by 3, I feel like that's the first thing we need to get into is then what 3 is, right? So the way that I put it is 1 starting cardinal, 2 fixed in the middle of something, right? And then 3 mutable at this ending point. So now when we're getting into each number, what would this mean, right? Different rounds with each placement of cardinal fixed immutable and the 3 different realms of cardinal fixed immutable. So this would be the personal realm. And these would kind of associate with the signs Aries, Taurus, and Cancer, where the cardinal would be, or 1, right? Now getting into specific numbers, 1 would be a cardinal placement, so an individual that's in an individual world and able to act individually, right? Now, once we get into 2, 2 would be fixed, a
Right.
realizer acting in a individual world. So what it's going to be realizing is the individual, of course, the Gemini, self-expression and the self, right? And then once we get to 3, this would be mutable. So this would be sort of the potential or like the potentiator. Mutable is always one of those just divine energies, right? Like the diviner of the self, right? And the one that's able to sort of elate and gain energy and sort of gas the self up, right? With the Cancer and a little bit of Gemini energy in here. So then going further, once we move into this fixed realm, this is in the realm of the realizers, right? So once we have this cardinal aspect, this is personalizing your place in the real realm, right? Which is why it associates with Leo and Virgo. And then we have the fixed, which would be fixing or realizing in the real realm, which would be Libra and Virgo on both sides, just that realizing, supportive, continuing, and refining energy. Then we have 6, which will be the potentiator, or the sort of um, I don't know, like sort of breaking down and being able to power like that mutable element of the real realm. So this will be like the Scorpio and a little bit of Libra. Basically, sort of the what I get here is because it's like like washing. It's taking that feminine energy and going over what is real and sort of expressing what can be powered and what can be like what kind of doesn't have that sort of power, that mutable power.
The
Because like the
balance,
way I guess, what's that?
the balance.
Well, power. Like I guess the way that I view mutability is sort of like power because it's the ability to be received. So it's almost like that's why like from the third element, like Gemini and Cancer are able to take stuff into the personal world, right? So like the 6 would be able to take stuff into the real
Okay,
world.
so you're saying that 3 is mutable and 6 is mutable and 9 is mutable.
Yeah, because like we said, that's by placement, right? We have cardinal fixed mutable, cardinal
Okay,
fixed mutable, and cardinal fixed mutable.
right.
While we also have realm, right? Because 9 is 3 by 3. So we also have the greater realms. So yeah, so 6 would be the mutable aspect of the fixed realm, right? Which would be like the potential of the real, right? If that makes sense, like that's
Right.
kind of the best way that I can describe the mutable, because it's like just is just that. But yeah, then we get into the mutable realm, the actual potential realm, right? And this will be personalizing, like 7. I view it as like personalizing your journey, right? Because mutable is like sort of going out and like opening up, right? But doing that in a personal way, right?
Wait, I,
And
I
then
hate to interrupt. So like my bad. So number 7 will be the cardinal number, but it's in the mutable realm.
yes, yes, perfect, yeah.
Boom. All
And
right.
we see that because 1, 2, 3 would be 3, so they would create like a sect, right? And then we had have 4, 5, 6, which would be another 3, which would create a sect, and then 7, 8, 9, which would be another 3 that would create a sect. So that's why we have the cardinal realm, the fixed realm, and the mutable realm. While we also have throughout the placements, the cardinal fixed, mutable, cardinal fixed, mutable, cardinal fixed, mutable, because it plays out fractally, so everything's like balanced.
Church.
Um, yeah. So then 8 would actually be the realizer or the fixed of potential, right? Sort of Capricorn and Aquarius energy. And then the 9 would be that pure potential, like sort of Pisces and a little bit of Aquarius over here. Uh,
That's one thing that was interesting, you blending the signs together.
So no, this is what is so this is when I had one of the most uh sorry, I'm trying to get this I guess back to my face. This is when I had the most Urania like moment. I was like, aha, because once I developed a system of understanding the 4 and then put it by the 9, which would be elements by modes, which sounds very familiar, right? Like the zodiac. Once you put it all together, it will literally like the zodiacal order will actually emerge by because by decan, right? If we take
Mhm,
one sign has 3 decans, right? So what is 3? We know that would be cardinal fixed immutable, like a mode. So
mhm.
if we have one mode and it's 3 by 4, that would mean that that would go like one element every time we go a mode, because it would go cardinal fixed mutable, cardinal fixed mutable, cardinal fixed mutable, cardinal fixed mutable, and that would create 4 signs that would have every element. And then yeah, once I show you sort of how I view the 4, right, the dial of 4, and how that applies to the decans, it will literally be this seamless system that creates another zodiac with 4 decans, right? Because now this would be elements where we have the way that I see it, fire, water, air, earth repeating, right? And once we have that repeat 3 times, we would have a realm of numbers. So the numbers are literally mapped onto the zodiac, but they just have 4 decans apiece because they represent modes. So they're made of elements, right? Where the signs, I know they don't just represent elements because they're a part of a season, but um, what I think from the decan based up, since they have 3, I think they're made of modes, right? And that gives them the element, right? But like I said, they still have their mode because they're a part of a season. Um, but did that make sense? And I'll get further into this too.
The when you say the four elements a sign, right? Or four
Yeah,
signs.
because the sign would now be a sigil of the dial of nine. So what I mean by that is, I guess I should develop a different term because it's more like a number or a life path, what people would call it. So four decans actually start creating one of the nine sigils, which would be a life path that we call it, which would map perfectly onto the zodiac by like four decans starting at Aries and then going through. Because if we divide the 36 by four, what do we get? We get nine, right? So so it's just really interesting
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see like the fractal nature and how the nine is sort of a reflection of, I feel like, the zodiac and the 12. It's just instead of doing it being like made up of three at the base and then going into the four element and then like the three realms, which would be three times four, excuse me, and that would be 12 times 3, which would be 36. And
Hmm.
the sigils, the number sigils, would be starting at four decans, right? And then we'd have three in the placements, right? Because we have cardinal fixed mutable placements with the number life paths, and then
Yeah.
it would be the three realms, which again would add up to 36. But it's taking the three
Wow.
layers of the zodiac and sort of switching them, and then we see the number life paths emerge, which is just so amazing to me.
That's deep. That's very deep.
Yeah. So, okay, is there any questions, I guess, before I start, I guess, explaining? Because we talked about the three a little bit, and I want to get into the four and like what the dial of four would look like if we want to see elements, right? And get into that discussion.
Okay, so far you broke down the numbers and the realms, and now you're gonna bring in the elements.
Yeah, because like I said, nine is only three by three. So we're not really going to get an elemental. Like, if you're trying to judge nine on elements, you're kind of whack because it's not even. Like, there's no Saphiric value to saying one and nine are both like fire by four, or and five, right? And now we have three fires and we only have like two airs and two earths. It's like by nine, we can only see what nine represents, which is three by three. So the nine only gives us modality, right? But once we cross-reference the nine by the four, we'll start to see in-depth modality because it's three by three. It's like double mode by element, right? And that will actually give us something like a zodiacal sign without a planetary ruler, just the air, like the combination of element and mode, right?
That's awesome. Okay. Well, we can definitely field questions. But let's jump right into it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'll switch this up. Just okay. Well, I guess first the conceptual. So we knew the nine, right, was the three by three, right? So what would the elements of the four be? Well, four is two by two, right? And understanding two, I feel like is pretty self-explanatory as well. Is one is yang and two is yin, right? One is purity, a whole, everything's one. Whereas two is relational. It's the idea of opposite. Now it's me against the world instead of this unity, right? Of just oneness. So the way the way then that works is now there's two realms. There's the yang realm, right, and the yin realm. And this is where I'll bring up the the picture. So we can see if I put it like this, and we have one, two, three, four. It would take two to go through a realm, right? So we have this yang realm, and then we have this yin realm. So the yang realm is one and two, creating a by two, and then the yin realm would be three and four, which would create another by two. Whereas we also have placement, right? Because we would have the masculine, feminine, just alternating placements to keep the fractal nature in order or to keep everything aligned. So basically, starting off is to understand that the yin or the yang realm, this is how I see it. This is where I would get into discussions on understanding what it's referencing. Is that one in the yang realm would be the yang of the yang realm, which would be fire. And then two, I see it as water because the yang realm represents purity and the feminine purity is water. And then when we get to the yin realm, the way that I see this is like the real realm, right? The two, the earth and air. At least how I see it, because the way that I see air is it becomes this body of water where it's starting to take this yang shape. So we have our own natures and our own body in which we can control and have our own thought processes on,
So
right?
that
But
would
it's
make
sort of,
air the yang of the yin realm.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because basically, in order for a communication to have any power, what needs to be behind it? Relatability, right? But just an action, like a yang, a fire, you can just act, right? But in order for an air to have power, it has to be supported by the feminine water, the natures in which we're in, right? They have to reference truth, right? And that will give them the sort of power. But we have creative control over it, right? It's still, but it's not going to have any power if it's not sort of real or supported by like nature, right? Or like communally understood, right?
That's interesting. And then water would be the yin. I mean, earth would be the yin of the yin.
Yeah, because now that we have the yin realm, we have the real, but we also have the yin or the element that we can't necessarily control, like our body. It takes a shape over time, right? And we can't, like, we can move our body, but we can't just like air be like, oh, change that thought, right? We don't have control over it. It's something that we have to work with, just like the vibes and emotions, right? Over time to accrue like a specific substance of, right? So that's how I see it, right? And this would just be, um like my understanding, like I said, if you want to see the yang realm as then two being the feminine and this like being air or something, right? Because now we have the what we can control in the yang realm, and then it being a sort of feminine. It's just the reason I view it this way is that I view the yang realm as purity, like one is purity, right? And the two elements that are pure are fire and water, and feminine is the sort of relationship. So the two, I feel like that are the most real elements and that are like I feel like created out of relationship are 3 and 4, because like I view the hot and dry of fire being a purity and the wet and cold of water being a purity, whereas then it starts to combine with adding the hot or the creative force in air, but it's still being relatable, right? And it adds that feminine real element, just like earth is now dry, but instead of being something that we have conscious control over, it was accrued over time, right? um, so
So
does
it's
that
like
make sense?
saying how fire and water is like the spiritual realm, and then earth and
Exactly. You got
air is
that on
the
point. Because
physical realm.
anytime I see a fire and water alignment too, I always think mental work, right? And when I see a earth and air alignment, I always think physical work, right? That's physical work going on. So yeah, I love how you said that, because that's exactly how I see it. Um,
That looks a lot like the yin yang symbol too.
yeah. Oh yeah, it kind of does, huh? That's interesting.
That's
But yeah, so let's see. Now, yeah, what happens when we sort of combine the dial of 3 and the dial of 4? And this is where I feel like the numbers are going to be a little counterintuitive. Like people are going to be like some sort of way. But if we just go through, right, and we go through each dial one by one, and we go, so if we're going a cardinal fixed mutable, right, and a fire, water, air, earth, so we're going one each time, what would
wow.
that look like? Right. So if we have one, which would be the cardinal fire, this would be Aries, but two would actually be Scorpio, because now it would be fixed water. Right. And now three would be mutable air, so it would be Gemini, and then four would be Capricorn. So actually, a way to illustrate this just real quick is it will go like a zodiac, go like this. We'll have one Aries and we'll have two Scorpio. We'll have three Gemini and we'll have four Capricorn. We'll have five Leo and we'll have six Pisces. We'll have seven Libra and we'll have eight Taurus, nine Sagittarius, uh, and but so yeah, so going back to why that
He's
would be
speaking
though
too much
is if we're
truth, y'all.
going
He's
and
speaking too much.
referencing.
My bad, bro. Everything kind of went glitchy when you were doing the numbers for me, at least. So I missed
Oh no.
everything you
Okay,
said
so
after. after you said like 3
Okay.
for Gemini, you said 9 for Sagittarius, but I missed everything in between then and after them
Oh,
because
okay.
the frequency overlords had deemed that you were spitting too much truth. So your
Okay.
whole scoop got glitched. I just had to let you know that.
Okay, no, thanks for letting me know. So, yeah, just I guess going back then, like I said, and it's just referencing where it would be in these dials, right? So if we take a random number like 11, we'll start to see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like that's kind of a counterintuitive way to put it here. I'll put it here. If we see 7, right, we see that 7 is cardinal, right? But if we look at the elements, 7 is air, right? So we start to see that it would represent Libra, which is pretty intuitive because Libra is the seventh sign. But if we go to 2, 2 would actually be fixed, right? And it would actually be water. So this would actually reference Scorpio. So now, like, I came over here to just reference what this order would look like. And if we start, it would sort of go by in conjunctions. So we have 1 Aries, 2 in Scorpio, 3 in Gemini,
The
4
the
in
glitch is
Capricorn.
happening again.
5
The glitch is happening again. It could be your position. Like when you sit down, it's good, but when you
Oh, it
went
could be
there,
too.
yeah,
Can you? Is it all good now?
yeah.
Still glitchy? No, you
It
can hear me.
works. It works now. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So if we're looking at how this zodiac, well, like 1 Aries, 2 Scorpio, 3 Gemini, 4 Capricorn, 5 Leo,
It's
6
glitching again.
Pisces,
It's glitching
7
again.
Libra.
It's glitching again. It's
That's
literally once you
crazy.
start talking about the chart, it starts glitching. It's kind of crazy.
That is crazy. Should I just try to keep doing it or?
You should do
Hmm.
it back at your seat because the theory is I'm
Okay,
sorry,
yeah, I actually have
the reception is
I
better in your
I
seat.
have it
So
right. Yeah, yeah. Let me see. I think I have another zodiac chart somewhere around here. I don't know where I put it. Well, look, actually, here, this will be perfect. This is like right behind me.
well, nice.
Capricorn, 5 Leo, 6 Pisces,
It
7 Libra, 8
could you
Taurus.
start could you start from scratch again?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll come back here to just
No, my bad, my
represent
bad.
the.
I was gonna say from the chart, but you can do that too. You can do whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just going to go. So if we're going by right mode and we're cross referencing with the element, right, we're going to see now 1 is fire and it's cardinal, so it's Aries. 2 is water. Oh, yeah, it's water and it's fixed, so it's Scorpio. 3 is air and it's mutable, like Gemini. 4 is cardinal and it's earth. Yeah, cardinal and earth, like Capricorn. 5,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, and 5 is fire and it's fixed like Leo. 6 is mutable and it's water like Pisces. 7 is air and it's cardinal like Libra. 8 is fixed and it's earth like Taurus. 9 is mutable and it's fire like Sagittarius. 10 is water and cardinal like Cancer. 11 is air and fixed like Aquarius. And 12 is earth and mutable like Virgo. And I'm sorry I like jump back and forth with respective qualities, but but yeah, so just the interesting nature of this, like I was saying, is that the masculine signs, air and fire, would keep their respective orders. So like Aries 1, Gemini 3, Leo 5, right? And then so on and so forth. But the feminine signs would start at Scorpio and sort of work their way from the sort of feminine or the lower part of the chart forward. So it'd be 2 Scorpio, 4 Capricorn, 6 Pisces, 8 Taurus, 10 Cancer, and 12 Virgo. And that's just to make sure what that does is it just reference the mathematics of, well, is it cardinal, is it fixed, is it mutable, or in what element is it? And it references that in the number. So that now like there's truth and logic built into the association, right?
I find it remarkable how Gemini and Sagittarius retain their number, quality, and also element.
Yeah. Well, yeah, all the masculine signs will. It's just that the feminine signs will take on sort of like a mirror. Um,
So Virgo will be the 12
well,
and Pisces
yeah.
will be 6.
And
But
why that is because Earth is the 4, it's the cross, right? Whereas 6, it's not by 4, right? And then also,
right.
um, mutability 6 would work because it's 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6. So it's the last of a 3, but it's not like the 4. It's not the cross or the Earth, right?
That's brilliant. This is brilliant, by the way.
I'm so glad I can share this with someone that resonates because I'm literally over here talking to this to people that don't like, even not even interested in symbolism. So I'm like, I feel the Uranian energy so much. I'm like,
It's still very, this is all the beginning. Like I'm still barely grasping it, but I feel like this is a beginner like entrance. Like we need to understand this to understand more because
yeah, well, yeah, I put a lot of thought into this because, like I said, I'm just a nerd and I love, first of all, just symbolism. And then people are always talking about numerology, but they never say why. So I guess it's that Scorpio in me. I just started obsessing because I love it. And yeah, I
wow.
just had some eureka moments that I really wanted to share. Um, but yeah, so there is one other thing referencing these charts that I do want to point out, then. If there's like no questions or we're all like, I guess, set on that number relationship between the signs, or if you have any questions on that. By 12, right?
If anyone has any questions, I'll definitely pick some. But that is really amazing how you bridge the power of three with the states and then also the elements. That is so remarkable. Like
Yeah, and what we'll see too is because like that just made sense to me logically, but what we'll see is the zodiacal order emerge too.
I was
And
about to
what's
say, does that
interesting,
make Scorpio the second sign?
yeah, like not the second counting, right? But it's 2 because 2 is fixed and it's water,
So
right?
so that means the order would be Aries, Scorpio.
Yeah, so like that's what I was trying to show you is it would go in conjunct or like eighth house angles all the way through, right? Aries to Scorpio, Scorpio to Gemini, Gemini to Capricorn, right? And it would jump through that way
Right.
um
That's
the
very
entire time.
that's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, okay. The next point that I have is that if we hold on, let me try to see if I can. Yeah, I'll just have to show you over here, but
So someone wanted to ask, can we use our big three elements and tie it into numerology, if that makes sense?
okay, use our big 3 elements. I'm confused.
She means like your sun, moon, and rising. Can you use your sun, moon, and rising to factor it in with each
So this
numerology?
is very interesting. I haven't really, I feel like, because I almost feel like rising is always perspective,
Right.
right? So I haven't quite found a way to encapsulate that in a number. But what I
What if
will show
what
you
if we did
later,
what
if
if we
we
did sun what if we did sun, moon, and Mercury?
yeah, we could do that. Or even like I like to do Sun, Moon, and Saturn, if that makes
Nice.
sense. Just because I view Saturn as like almost like the greater ascendant, and then we have like our personal kind of
I like that.
references.
I like that. Yeah.
But yeah, so going here, I actually do view it as like we have this system of 5, right? But by 2, which would incorporate all 10 planets. And then we would also have a star of 7 too, right? It's a different prime number. So it's interesting to see how those two would reference each other. But either way, yeah, if we have time, I do want to break down then the dial of 5, right? And how I think it would go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3 would then take on the most fixed, right? Just to bring up sun and moon, and the sun and the moon are the most fixed. So then if we had this by 10, the feminine and masculine aspect, or 3 or 8 out of 10, would always reference the sun and the moon. So because mathematics is by 10, that's actually something that works really good, because now we can go to um, actually buy 100 and say, okay, well, now all these threes would sort of link to a center, and all these eights would link to a center. The only thing is, three wouldn't always link to, say, the sun, and eight wouldn't always link to the moon. And the reason I say that is because they'd be by realm, masculine, and then it would move to the feminine realm by 5. But the reason that we can't quite understand that, and we have to use a little bit of derived things, is because 3 is always going to be odd, and so threes are always going to associate with the masculine signs, and eights are always going to be even and associate with the feminine signs. So what we have to do is take the element one further and look at where it is by 8. So for example, 8 is the last of 8, so it would fill up a elemental sect. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, which would be the beginning of an elemental sect, and then we have 5, 6, 7, 8, the ending. And that would kind of bring us the derived information we'd need to know that, okay, now 8 would be Taurus, and it would be Taurus moon, because it's in the last part of 8, right? So, and that's because it represents in the dial of 5 this centrality, but then also from a yang yin perspective, past the element, it represents yin, so it brings in the feminine element of the moon, right? If that makes sense.
So the moon is at the top part representing the 5, and that's why it would be the end of the elemental set.
So that is actually a little bit wrong. I have more to explain. So basically, if we're going around this, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And it would be like the middle of the 5, and then it would go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? But the reason that we don't know,
Oh, that's
so
why you
like,
said 8. Okay.
yeah, so 3 naturally, because it's yang, would associate with the sun. But the problem of creating a number that makes an alignment is that yang is always going to associate with fire and um, um, air, right? So we could only get sun placements if we don't use the derived information. So that's why once we fill up an elemental sect, right? Because the element is already yang yin, right? By yang yin, once we fill up 1, this will be like another yang kind of part, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8 would then be the yin, or the ending.
So 3
Um,
is always going to be the sun, and 8's always going to be the moon.
yes, basically, it's just that um, if we take that for what it is, then we're only going to be able to reference the sun and air and fire, right? Because 3, if we look at where the have elemental papers. If we look at this, 3 is always going to be, the odds are always going to be fire, air, right? And the evens are always going to be earth or water.
Right.
So because there are 9 of these, if we go by 1, 2, and we say that this is 8 now, like it's derived information. So sorry that I'm not explaining it good, but it's that now that we have one element, if we take 2 elements as a masculine and feminine of a by 8, now we have another additional layer of information that can tell us if, sort of by 5, if it's going to be yang or yin. So I feel like I'm explaining that really badly. But basically, because if we go by 8, 16, 24, 32, and it will not have quite enough to complete, it will take 72 numbers in order to account for that. But then it will allow us to now say have a 3 for Gemini that expresses the sun, and also plus 36, 39, or no, I'm sorry, plus yeah, this would be, I'm sorry, but like if we add, I'm pretty sure 120 would create the what we would need, because it would be the 10 times 12 by the sign. So if we then 123 would now be the Gemini moon, right? Because now it would actually be on the dial of 8. It would be a feminine. I feel like I'm explaining this really bad,
I see. I
but
see
yeah,
where
just
you're getting at.
basically goes back to what's that?
I see where you're getting at, though.
Okay, yeah, because basically yang and yin, we've already sort of addressed with masculine and feminine, odd or even, and then
Yeah.
we went further with the element, right? So
Yeah.
that's expressing the nature of two, or where two can go. But
Like the
now
yang of an
that
element and the yin of the element.
yeah, so now that we have the elements, we can now start to see, okay, well, if we have by 5, if we have a central placement in an element, right, like which would reference the sun or the moon, now we have to know, is this yang or is it yin? But we can't use the information we already have to decide what element it is. So that's why now we go by 8, and the extra layer of information will tell us where it is.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I got
it's yeah, because like I said, 3 would always be the sun, and it would always reference fire and air signs if we didn't have the extra layer of information.
you. Yeah, yeah. Let's do
Okay. So yeah, we can do that, and like I really need to get on it and like make more videos, because like for example, Virgo Sun would be 108. So for you Virgos, happy birthday! Free information, and this is because if we go to 8, right, we would think that this would sort of be the moon, but if you actually like get a remainder calculator and you look at where it is by 8, 108 will be 4. Like if you divide by 8, it'll have a remainder of 4, which will bring it in the yang realm. 108 is also mutable, because 1 plus 8 is 9. So we know that it's a mutable number. And then 108 is also earth. And we sort of know this because an easy way to know is that elements are always going to go by 20. So every 100, we're going to reset. So 101 is going to be back to fire. So 108 is going to be earth. So 108 would reference Virgo sun for you Virgos. Yeah. And I love Virgo actually, like because it is the last one, like the actual like check this out. The actual numbers that reference Virgo are like beautiful numbers, at least in my opinion, because a lot of the other signs just have like shady, like you're just like, oh, who wants like 37? But I'm just kidding.
So Virgo really is like perfection.
It is, yes, because it's the last, but like it's the because it's in the spiritual realm, but it's feminine. I feel like it literally I don't know, it encapsulates a real, I feel like, ending quality that Pisces is pure feminine. So like I said, it almost because of its purity, I almost feel like I don't know, it like has this I don't know. I guess I don't know what my point that was there actually, but
Well,
yeah, I feel like Virgo is perfection for real. Like even the numbers associated are awesome. But yeah.
that's what's up.
So, I guess the next thing that I just want to point out is then how. Okay, so are there? I guess first, are there any like questions or anything I should address before I just keep like plowing through information?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so now, like I was telling you earlier, the zodiac is each sign has three decans, right? Now, if we look at modes, we start to realize this would be mode. And right now, if we look, okay, 1, 2, 3, we start with fire. Whoa, Aries is fire. And then 4,
Glitch
whoa, 4.
City.
Yeah, 4. Oh no, it's glitching.
Yeah. Now you're
That is
good.
so crazy.
Yeah, no, it's crazy as fuck. It's like, but
I'm
you can do
literally
it
like in the same spot too. I'm like, I got this as
exactly.
close to my chair as I could.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's glitch. You're
Like,
good
please
now.
be
You're good
mine.
now. But if
Okay,
you start, yeah,
but yeah. So, should I restart? Did you get any of that,
yeah,
or?
yeah. No, we didn't get any of that.
Okay.
Please restart. Yeah.
So yeah, so basically if we align the modes and the elements, right, we start to see that 1, 2, 3 would be 3 group, right, which would link to the element. If we go 9 by 4, in just nature, because each mode would create an element and each element would create a mode. And so this would actually reference the 9 life paths, right? We have cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed, mutable. And this would reference the 12 signs: fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water. And to see this coming into being, we can see that, okay, one, right, starting off with Aries right here is the first decan is fire, and it's cardinal, right? Cardinal and fire. And now moving on to 4, right, which would start off Taurus, this would be Earth, right? Starting this new modal sect, and it would actually be in the fixed realm, right, as beginning 4, 5, and 6. Now going to Gemini 7, right? On this, yeah, on the third one, we would see that 7 is air, right? So the seventh decan would also point to an air by 3. And this would just continue onward. And the thing about it is it's like fractal, because these decans would reference the zodiacal order backwards, which would be like the house, how we see the houses throughout the sky. And it would also reference going just like from by 4, right? So if we go Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, and we just take that as like its own sort of like as the fire ruling this and the water ruling this, and we take that, it sort of takes that same order and sort of fractalizes it down, and we see the zodiacal order emerge in decan form. Does that make sense?
A little bit,
A little bit.
but that's beautiful. And thankfully, like, this is here so that we can rewind and watch. And it would be really nice to see you expand on this in your channel
Oh
and
yeah.
video series. This is it's brilliant, brother. Really brilliant. I think this is amazing. So that's beach numerology.
Yeah. So wait, are we running out of time here?
No, no, we still got some time.
Okay, well, because I still do want to bring up how then the 4 decans, right, would be a elemental sect, right, versus the modal sect we just talked about, which would create
Right.
the element of the sign. If we take the 4 and we take the elemental sect, we can see the mode, which would create the 9 numbers. So let me
So the modal
think
sect
for
is
that.
the by 3. Right, right, right.
Yeah, so see, we have 1, 2, 3, and this is a mode, right? And it started with fire. So we're not looking to say if 1 or 4 or 7 is cardinal, fixed, or mutable, because they're by 3. So they're all going to be cardinal, right? Starting
Right,
each sign, it's always 1, 4, or 7. So that means we're looking to what
right.
element they are. And I have it neatly done here where we can see this sort of elemental
So
order
7 is
emerge.
air because it's in Gemini.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so the reason that it's referencing the mutable realm in the by 9, like 7 is the first part of the mutable realm, right, too, as well. But yeah, and it's air.
Hey.
So hey, flights. So if we go to then if we move on to the elemental sect, right? And now we see that this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This would actually be the cardinal in the cardinal realm, which would be 1, right? 5, 6, 7, 8 would be 2. 9, 10, 11, 12 would be 3. And it just works around. So you can see that these
Wait,
decans, right?
wait,
Like,
wait, wait. Wouldn't 7, 8, 9 be 3?
okay. No, because it's by 4, right? So we have fire, water, air, earth, 1. Fire, water, air, earth, 2, right? Fire, water, air, earth, 3,
Oh, so
right?
you mean
Because we
9,
just did
9,
modal.
10, 11, 12 is 3.
Yeah, yeah. And this
Okay,
is just where it
got
is in relationship to the decans. So like, and what's
right.
so cool about this is now we see that this will have 9 numbers, which will like I said be the modal equivalents to the life paths we just discussed, but they're
Dude,
just
that's fucking
utilizing 4
crazy.
decans, right?
Holy
But they're
shit.
just utilizing 4 decans instead of 3. So it's like the numbers I think were literally created because they were signs discovered, but like I don't know, right? It's just it makes so much sense.
So
But
okay, so that's the numerology behind the life paths.
yeah. And so this is how we literally see the fixed referencing right in between what? Earth and air, 1, 5, and 8, right? The cardinal always starting at fire with a little bit of the dryness of the earth, 1, 4, and 7. And the mutable starting with a little bit of the air, but mostly being this water, right? 3, 6, and 9. Um,
Mm,
which is interesting. But
it
but
is.
yeah, and
Yeah.
we can just see that. Like I said, if we start with the modes, we'll get the 12, right? Because it's by 36. So if we have 3, 3, 3, or by 3, we'll get 12 signs, right? But if we go by 4, elementally, we'll get 9, which is actually the 9 numbers, which is so cool. Um, yeah.
That is super cool. I really do like how the numbers really just kind of like all come back to each other.
Yes, right. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's basically the bulk of what I wanted to share. Like, I still do want to do so much more, like I said, work on my channel, like going through the signs and like explaining like, just how to see what numbers are referencing and how to use that creatively. Yeah.
That's
So I guess going forward, I guess we should ask for questions, but then I guess we could, if I don't have anything else to say and there's no more questions, we could wrap up with this reading and breaking down why it means what it means and see what the reading meant for you.
Woo! So before we do that, let's play the 3 questions game then.
Oh, I get to play that? I'm so excited. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I was so
You're getting
nervous
inducted.
I was so nervous before I came on here, but you have such a calming energy. It's like all my nerves just went away as soon as your face came up. Like, I just think that's so awesome. Like, I just had to say something about that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I think it's my earth energy.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's it. All right. So yeah, we'll do 3 rounds and you can ask me any question first.
Okay, I'm first.
Yeah.
If you had to describe yourself as sort of like an archetypal form, like what would it be? I guess if that makes sense, like something, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're cute as a bunny," but like if you had to think of something that's greater than human to describe yourself as, like a monument, right? Would be like an example, because it would be like a great form that's like took a lot of people to build. Does this question make sense? Like, what would your megalith or testament be, natural or artificial?
Like what archetype do I represent?
Yeah, and like, kind of, yeah, what form kind of would that take? If it could be like in like a megalith or a natural like monument or something like that.
It's a good question. Um I would I would put an infinity on that biatch or some kind of representation of eternity.
Okay.
Yeah, the word.
I picture like clockwork. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
You know,
beautiful.
when I think of Saturn, I always think of gold clockwork and just empty space, just black space.
Yeah. That was what I was feeling too. That was beautiful. Like the sky, like sat like a clock, like a scythe. And I love your focus on archetypalization as an Aries too. My question for you is I don't think you have a favorite number, but like, do you have a favorite number? Do you have a number you have an affinity with? Yeah.
So I do. I guess I don't really have a favorite number. As someone who just loves signs, I actually, and being a Libra, I'm like, no, I love them all. I didn't even get into astrology to study my signs. I was just like, I want to learn a symbolic language, not knowing what that meant. Found astrology, got so deep into it that I could read my own chart. But yeah, it's like, but also, like, you can double that. Like, for real, I got a reading from you, so shout out the Peace Dealer. Don't think if you're just starting, it ain't no use getting a reading. But
Appreciate
23, I kind of feel like identifies with me, as it's an air number and it's fixed and it's like perfecting reason, because I always feel like I have a vision and an expression that I've already kind of accumulated. So it's really bringing that into form. Even though, but I'm such like a airy person too, so I feel like a lot of that is intellectual. So like the 23 referencing 5 and fixity and air. I do kind of. I've always just associated for some reason with like Bublynn Beach. I don't know why though. Like too much beyond that. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so we're on
I do
round.
just love numbers for real. Like,
Yeah, I'm not gonna sleep on numbers no more. We're on round 2 though.
oh yeah, okay. Man, this is challenging, I feel like. Um,
Spot.
hmm. Oh, I'm drawing such a blank. Hmm. So I guess this is a question that I didn't really want to ask because I feel like you're gonna have one of them I'm content like answers. But if you could live your greatest wish for 3 years, but you had to go back in time and it would just be a dream after those 3 years, would you?
Damn it. So, oh, that's crazy. And if I don't do that, then I can't live it out.
That's an interesting thought.
Right. Like the
But
only
I
way.
always view that as like you could gain direction though, because like a lot of people ask this question for too. I guess that would be a layer that we could add is if you don't wish to experience that, then it's kind of like off the table. But I like a lot of people too would wish for something to gain like insight too, even if they wouldn't be able to take that experience. Um,
Right.
yeah.
Because if that's the case, then yeah, I'd do it. If that was the only way I can do it, yeah, I would totally do it. But that's interesting. Um, it's a good question because I'm learning to detach so much more and not have attachments anyway. Because life is kind of like that,
Right.
regardless. Yeah. Um.
So I see. Yeah, you just kind of experience it just to have that free experience, even if it's less like practical, I guess, than your Capricorn moon is used to.
Someone wants to know if you're single.
Oh, that's so sweet. So, look, right now I'm totally interested in dudes. So I appreciate that, but I'm
Hmm.
not really. I'm not feeling the ladies right now.
Well, you
Although
know
I
what? That's kind of, I hate to interrupt you, but that's what I was alluding to in the beginning when I was like, what is it like being a man with a Scorpio moon? You know what I'm saying? And having that deep feminine. I know Zaya Wade is a Gemini sun with a Scorpio moon, and I've kind of seen it common to see men with that embrace their femininity. So like, what is that like?
yeah. I guess I don't really know behind that. Like I do feel though, like people are like, just shut off your feelings. I'm like, no, if something doesn't feel right, like I can't do it. And that's why I can I try to surround myself with positive soul food too. But like, um, I don't know. I guess I don't really know how to answer too well. Like I am like I feel like I would come across way more like a chick or like a pushover if I didn't have so much like common sense because of how naturally emotional I am. Like if I don't stick to kind of like yeah, like just making my life work and kind of embracing like masculine form, I'll just be like crazy bitch and you can't do that. I don't know, but I also really love it because
You have Venus
I
and
feel like
Pisces.
if I can really embrace it, like there's so much of an ability for me to control my emotions. Like I can literally like feel when I want to, and like I've learned that I literally make myself feel what I'm feeling. And a lot of that ties into like habits, so it's hard to control. But I've learned I do have like such an ability, especially being in Aries, just to like conjure emotion. Like it's pretty insane.
By the way, she did ask if you're single. Oh.
Oh, it's complicated.
Right. Yeah. Scorpio moon. My bad. I hate to just typecast you. So I know I just asked you like several questions, but my second question for you is you do
You're all
represent
good. I love talking.
you do represent the new generation. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to anyone born after 95. What do you as a leader of the new school, right? what do you feel like? I know you have this numerology system, but what do you feel like you are bringing into play? Like, what is, if you had a superpower you were bringing in, or if we were entering a supernatural society, what would you contribute towards that society?
So I guess my highest dream, which I'm so far from, is to be, because I feel such instability with the greater political environment, is to be in a self-sufficient community, at least for the most part, right? And sort of play a shamanic role, sort of helping people to just express their individuality. Because I learned like I'm such a resonator, and if I can figure out how to bring like my Saphiric knowledge to the table, like in relationships, that's how I feel like I have to figure out how to do that. But I almost just picture myself at like my greatest vision is being like a ceremonial artist and just putting on with the knowledge that I have, like ceremonies for like whatever sort of vibe is like necessary. um but yeah, does that make sense?
So more like community building too.
Yeah, yeah. And like having like an experience that sort of expresses symbolism, or is even personal to one person, that is like a whole room that people can be like inducted into and really feel that expression in form. Like that's like my highest dream. Like I'm so far, I feel like, from doing that, but like that is uh like a dream of mine.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Oh
And
yeah. So it's my turn, eh?
yeah,
Um,
final round.
oh man. Um, this is crazy. Hmm. Oh, if you could create an alignment, and just see that physically manifest, and it's like, what is the most mesmerizing, like, what would be the most mesmerizing chart if you just had to build it off your head that you would just be like, whoa, like, I want to know this, like, what is going on here? Like, what, does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a really good question because um a lot of charts that I see, like the Capricorns born in the 90s with Uranus and Neptune and the sun there, stelliums like that really blow my mind. But what I really appreciate about what makes it crazy for me is the timing and the nature of them. So if I were to create them from scratch, or if I were to create them, or I guess I can think up of future transits that'll happen, but it kind of takes it out of context because certain things wouldn't happen and be once in a lifetime. With that being said, though, I can only imagine like a stellium of every planet in Pisces, what that would be like. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my God.
Yeah, I would
I
probably.
love Pisces, but like I feel like people have problems with Pisces because they don't have strong boundaries. But Pisces, because Pisces literally are just tricking you. So you just have to know, like, if you're gonna give something to a Pisces, don't expect anything back. But like, you just gotta be okay with
That is
that. Like,
hilarious, and I hate that I have so many stories in my life that I can allude that to be true.
I love Pisces though. I love
Yeah,
them.
that's hilarious. Yeah, like I'm thinking about one now. But okay, my final question for you is: you are in a classroom of young hopefuls, and small 5-year-old children, or yeah, what is a red pill you would give them to break them out the matrix?
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Boom. Scoot, scoot.
This is like so difficult. I guess. Oh, cause like they're young too. Like I'm not that. I don't know any kids. I feel like I'm like, I don't know. Hmm. How would I? I look. I really. I don't know how I would try to do that at all. Honestly.
Mm.
Like I feel like all my idea, like I feel like I'm just like too much up in my head to like bring it down into something that'd be easily digestible.
You
Like
know, yeah.
I feel like this question just inspires me, yeah, to figure out how to be more like grounded. I don't know. I really don't know though. Is that a okay answer? Like I feel bad, but like
That
I'm not
is a
sure.
very good. That's a grounded answer in reality, instead of just kind of like saying something. I get that. That
Right?
kind
Because like the first
of
things that come to
confidence.
my mind are like bringing up like the Fed or something, or like getting into symbol. But like all this just seems like it wouldn't matter. Like and so I don't know. Like then to me it just would seem like you asked this to someone else, and it was like the ice cream thing that they said, and having the kids get to know that they're all different but the same. I think was like way better than anything I can think of. So I don't know. I just don't even know like how I would do this.
That thank you. That's an honest answer, and I appreciate that. Well, um, we're definitely gonna follow this up in future with more talks. I really enjoyed this, and I definitely you got me curious about this reading you pulled. So please
Yeah.
go ahead.
I'm excited for it. Let's see. I'm drawing it out right now. Let's see. Uh, fire. This would be the. All right. So, if we break this down now,
Mm,
let me show you. So we know that 8 out of 12 would be Taurus, and 3 out of 10, this would be the Sun, right? Because, like I spoke earlier, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the 3 and the 8 have fixed roles, but the Sun is Yang. We can control it. It's the solar, whereas the Moon is Yin, which is why it's 8. And the sun is 3, respectively. So this would be the sun in Taurus. So this is actually like at its height, right? Having conscious control and creative power over reality, right? And sort of actually, I almost feel like in like Earth form, it would look like just a vehicle or a house that literally is incarnated in your form, right? Or your solar plex. But then going into this reading, how I got 5 out of 20 is it would be by 5, it would be the last. And if we look at the elemental sect, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Well, no, wait, my bad. It's just 5, 20 is by force, so 5 would be fire, right? And so this would actually associate with the card, like in my opinion, the Queen of Wands, which I would aspect with the Sun, and it would speak of like psychic integration, but that you're able to do. Because like the Queen would speak of opening yourself up, and the Sun's sort of a Yang force. So the way that I see like the fire and the water aspecting would be like mental work, but because it's the Sun and the Sun centered, it's work that you're able to do. So this would be like opening up in a way, and just kind of yeah, learning how to open up in a way. Uh, and then 27 out of 36, we would have, let's see, 27 is air, and then it's 9, so it would be pure Gemini. So um, Taurus aspecting Gemini would actually be you in a position where you're manifesting, because it would be second house Gemini, manifesting truth, right? Especially as a Taurus, a real nature of truth. And then because 27 is 9 by 9, the specific mode too would actually aspect the Queen of Wands. So it would be the 3 of Wands aspecting Sag, which would put the sort of going out into the dark to discover philosophies is sort of how it feels like going out, 8th house, right, to discover philosophies or to discover a way to be ascended. Would sort of be the mental state, but illuminating the darkness with the sun here, right? Yeah, and sort of integrating your ability to open up to the world. Yeah, that makes sense.
Beautiful.
So yeah, these would actually like because I like to do readings too. Like I'm actually getting dice with all of these numbers, but I like to do readings too. Like because these would be the 10 planets, which you could associate with a 10 and the 12 with the 22 major arcana, and then the 36 and the 20 split the minor arcana. But yeah.
So how did you calculate the 8 and then the 23 or the 27?
Okay, so the 8, like I asked you by 12, right? And we know that by 12, if I go back to here, 8 is fixed and it is Earth, right? So it references Taurus. And then the 27, if we go into like where it is too, right? Modally, it's mutable and it's also 9. So it's also like doubly mutable too. And then, yeah, it's air by 4, right? So then the way that I would see that is because it's like I kind of read the minor arcana differently, like with that, like and just by sign base. So I kind of associate it with the 9 of swords, right? But then I would associate the 3, the specific placement within that, and I'd aspect it to the Queen of Wands, which was the Sagittarius element that came up with the vibe of going out into the dark to sort of bring that spiritual ascension or discover philosophy, bring light to philosophy.
Whoa, Nelly. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Hey,
Um,
thank you.
I do have your Instagram, your Facebook, and your YouTube in the description box below. Um, do you have any services people can reach you on any of those platforms, right? If they have any
Yeah.
questions or services.
So I'm actually like just starting out. I really don't like the only thing, if I don't get too overwhelmed, I was just offering like free readings of just foundational like chart readings just in exchange for like follows and stuff. But in terms of numerology, I haven't really set up anything yet, but I will make sure to get on that and there will be more coming. So yeah, I would say stay in tune because I will like as the signs go on to keep giving you guys the numbers that associate and why and the reason behind they do with signs and transits. Because if we go deeper into it too, one number, if we double it, it can aspect a planet in a sign, which would be 360. Or it would actually just be 120 because the 360 would incorporate the decans, so it'd be a little more specific. But 120 could incorporate every planet in every sign, and then
Mm.
doubling that, you could aspect every planet in every sign again. So it's like you could literally have a number that represents aspects and all sorts of things. So, but yeah, just look forward to sharing more. I don't really have any services set up, but I will have to get on that based on like I guess whatever requests I see or what people are interested in, because it is like a new kind of thing that I'm kind of working on too. So I'm like, where is its function?
That's what's up, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to this young gentleman right here. Um, y'all stay blessed as always. Bublin, thank you once again for coming through, blessing us with this wisdom. Yeah, y'all have a blessed weekend. And until next time, peace.